Okay, now we're going to talk about levels. Levels and curves kind of go hand in hand. Curves focuses more on color channels and levels focuses more on highlights, shadows, and midtones, just the lights and darks. So, open Photoshop, and we're going to go to levels, and I found this really awesome picture of this cat, and I felt like this was a great picture to do levels because it's really focusing on the lights and darks here. So open up your levels adjustment layer, and that is a histogram right here. It looks like a crown, but that is a histogram, and you can see the dramatic difference between the levels of lights and the levels of darks over here on the histogram. So over here on the shadows or the darks in your photo, you have way more darks than you have lights, and that's reflected in the picture. So that's kind of how you read the histogram. Over here on the right is the lights, the highlights, and over here on the left are the darks or the shadows. And if you look at this, it matches the picture that you're looking at because it's a dark picture with just a few highlights. So you again are going to select every channel individually, and what I do is I hold my Option key down while I am dragging my output slider. So start with the output slider on the right and drag it in a tiny bit just until you start to see some of those red dots appear. And then on the left, it's already black as can be, so you don't need to move that one at all. So this one is the only one. And then the middle, you can kind of decide the range you want it to go. And then green again, a little bit in. Green, you don't have to do anything on the left there. And blue, a little bit more. Nothing on the left. You can see the color changing slightly as I move my mid-tone slider. So let's see the before and after. Just a very slight difference, but I do like my version better because the lights and the highlights are just a little bit more distinct and bright. And I feel like the eye detail in the eye is brought out a little bit. So if you look at the eye specifically, you can see some of those reflections are a little brighter here. So the goal for levels is that you want to get your output sliders starting right where your darks and lights start. You don't want a histogram that's in the middle, like where the actual histogram itself is in the middle and your shadow output slider and your highlight output slider are totally separated from the graph. So you want them, again, to just begin where the highlights begin and begin where the shadows begin. That's where your output slider should be. And that's how you get a great balance with highlights and shadows.